Good evening, sir. I wanted to ask regarding the feedback. So, if there's somebody who's just giving you positive feedback, and I'm sure if I'll come to you as a client, I'll be giving a positive feedback. But how is your reaction towards that?
If indeed the client has negative feedback?
Yes, but they have been, because from your from the you can see that they have not been working on your goals or your homework that you've been giving. They've not been following up well, and still they've been giving a positive feedback to that.
So the negative feedback is often very useful. First of all, the person's asserting herself. And secondly, the feedback may be correct. And so I would say, that's excellent. Thank you for giving me the negative feedback. Then is it okay if we explore a little bit more as to what the aspects of this negative feedback, or go on to get the patient to say, you didn't like the way you didn't like my interpretation, say, of my assignment. Could you tell me what would be a better one? So what you want to do is, as much as possible, to encourage the self-assertion of the people.
One of the things that I've done, not often because it doesn't come up all that often, but when I suspected that something was going on, in the end of the second session, the client says, yeah, everything was great, but I thought maybe she had some negative feedback. And I said to her, you know, it's going to be really important if there is anything that I got wrong or anything that you think would help more to let me know, because otherwise it's like I'm a boxer and I have one hand tied behind my back. In fact, what I'd like to do is to have you practice giving me some negative feedback right now. So how about if you can just make it up. It doesn't even have to be true. Would you be willing just to give me some negative feedback right now? Okay? And then, and once the client had actually practiced it and saw that I said, oh, it's so good you told me that, then it kind of opened the door in the future. I also asked at the next session a little bit more pointed. I wondered whether it bothered you a little bit when I said such and such. And if it did, would you be brave enough to tell me? We also have clients fill out feedback forms at the end of therapy sessions. So if they're not brave enough to tell us in person, they can tell us in writing on the form. Do you want to say anything, Rob?
Yeah, in my first actual therapy session, I give psychoeducation on every piece of it. So I talk about feedback, why it's important, how I'm really interested in negative feedback because I want to make sure to adjust treatment the best I can to them. During feedback, I'm very aware of any body cues, so nonverbals, and I'm going to see if the nonverbals match the verbals. If there's a disconnect, I might say something like, you know, it seems like there might be something you're holding back that you want to tell me. Is that right? And then if they're still hesitant, I might say, you know, can anything bad happen from giving me negative feedback? Just to look at the belief aspect of it. And then just reiterate, you know, I really enjoy negative feedback because, again, I want to make this the best experience for you. And I don't want you to leave this session and not come back because there's something I can change. And then whenever they do, just praise them. You know, I really appreciate you doing that.